My name is John Kim. I'm a senior economics major at the University of Washington, and I'm also the co-founder and director for Utopia, which I created in response to the growing partisanship that I'm seeing in this country. So that's sort of a basic summary. Anne, can you go ahead and introduce yourself, please?
Okay, let me turn on the video. Hi guys, so my name is Aing. I already graduated, and right now I'm just joining UWtopia as hoping that I can grow a community, like I can help organize a community where everyone can come and talk, express themselves. So currently I'm working on building a Facebook group for our group, and yeah, haven't got any. So it's just set up some ground work for the group, but hopefully it can be launched sometime soon during this quarter. So nice to meet you guys.
All right, and can you, or actually I can probably do the next one. So June or Bugart, can you go ahead and introduce yourselves, please?
Yeah, I can go. Hi, I am June. I'm currently a junior in informatics, and I'm really excited to have you. I know we met a few times, and it's I'm looking forward to discussing about different things.
All right, and then Bugart, you're next.
Hello, I'm Bugart. I'm a sophomore at UW and I plan to study computer science. I joined UWtopia because I want to learn different perspectives and also help foster a community that people can really discuss different matters globally.
And last but not least, Isha, who is our outreach lead. Can you introduce yourself, please?
Yeah, hi guys, I'm Isha. I'm the outreach lead, as John said. I am currently a junior at UW. I'm in the political science major. I also hope to double major in English creative writing. It's nice to meet everyone, and I'm here because I think it's really important to discuss things across both sides of the political aisle. That way we are able to come up with better solutions that will actually help people.
All right, thank you, Isha. So it's great hearing back from everyone in terms of what their own motivations are for joining Utopia. And what I'm going to do at this point is to start with the presentation that I've created to sort of highlight the main features and opportunities that we also provide to our members, because we are first and foremost a member-oriented organizations in all things that we do. And a special extra element that we have decided to add for this winter quarter is our theme of going global. So we are all currently, in our bedrooms right now, in our rooms, not being able to really travel or go outside. But something that's special about this quarter is the theme that I decided to create, which is the idea that we are all travelers remotely. So the world of remote travelers is something that Utopia is going to strive to become over the weeks to come. So I hope you guys are all very excited to see the amount of learning and the amount of being able to look through a multicultural lens. That's something that I personally look forward to and hope you all look forward to as well. All right, so without further ado, let's get started with the presentation. So the presentation is going to be broken into 4 parts, and I promise that I won't keep it too long because I know that the executive members already saw this presentation. But I do want to make sure that I cover the most important parts, especially for the new members such as Kevin, who's here with us today, and also for the members who are not able to be here with us today, to also be able to watch the recording and get to have a stronger grasp for what Utopia is about. All right, so our mission is to become a nonpartisan forum for all political backgrounds and experiences, and also striving to become a model that policymakers and citizens from across the globe can follow. So this is sort of a basic summary of what Utopia is about, and Utopia is much more in terms of the depth and the level that we strive to become. But sort of the way that you can think about Utopia is that we are an organization that addresses many of the insufficiencies and the lack in our current education system, where even though they're making efforts and strides to be more incorporative of a much more diverse background of individuals from various different cultures and national identities, sort of what you're seeing in the United States today is that we're on a trend where we're more divided than ever. So it often doesn't feel like we're the United States of America, but it feels like the divided States of America, where we're separated into blue or red camps rather than seeing ourselves as being part of the same team. And so that's something that Utopia really strives to become, in that we are a unifying force. And although we're working just on a local level currently, our goals and our ambitions continue to strive to be on a national and a global level. So that's the mission that I want all of us to remember us by. All right. So our structure. So the parts that I've decided to continue from fall quarter previously is our game show. So our game show is going to return under the newly rebranded name, Can I Speak Your Language? And the appeal of the game show is that it's probably the most fun and interactive part of our meetings, because a lot of times the presentation material can be very dense or complex, but the game show is something that sort of ensures that members are not only actively participating and engaged, but that they can actually use the information that they learned during the presentations to win points in our game shows. So it's much more of a fun way of leveraging the information that you gain from Utopia. We also have our weekly presentations and discussions, and our debates, and our reward and incentive system, which I'll elaborate further as we go into the presentation. So the changes that I decided to make to Utopia is in accordance with the change in our theme of going on a much more of a global spectrum, right? So it looks a bit long, but it's actually pretty straightforward. So the global talk is going to be our weekly presentations that's going to be presented by different unique speakers. Some of the feedback that I received from fall quarter was that I was doing too much of the presenting, and that I was often responsible for covering the material week after week. And on my part, that sort of led to a burnout around week 5 or week 6. And so something that I wanted to change moving forwards was giving the opportunity to the members to be able to present on different cultural, political, or economic issues pertaining to the chosen month's geographic region. And I think this is really useful for especially the more international students in our member body, in that they're able to talk about issues that are pertinent to what's happening in their own local environments. So I think the global talk makes sure that we all have the opportunity to be able to talk about areas in which we have strengths and advantages in. All right. So there's no minimum time limit, with the maximum cap being 45 minutes. So the reason why I didn't include a minimum cap is that presentations can be as short as you want it to be, because the focus for our weekly meetings is not to have just one person, talking on and on about what they've learned and what they know about a certain topic, but also being able to open it up to the audience and asking the audience what their understandings were, or what policy solutions that they were able to come up with during the presentations to the specific issue that was being ascribed during the presentation. Okay, and then something that I really wanted to focus on was that each presenter includes thoughtful and open-ended questions throughout their presentations. And I also have examples on our YouTube channel, also under the name @Utopia, where I sort of follow along the same formats, where I make sure to incorporate questions throughout my presentations to make sure that the audience members are actively engaged with the material being presented. Okay, and then the presenters are selected based upon a volunteer basis. So this is not something that's mandatory, but highly encouraged. And you're going to see why later on in the slides with the rewards and incentives, why you would want to present. So the global debate is carrying on from the global talk, which is that previously in our fall quarter, we used to have a system where we had weekly debates, but we found that this was very tiresome and arduous process for many of our members to sort of prepare for debates that they had to spend an entire week trying to condense all of the materials. So what we decided to do today was to transition over into a monthly format where instead of having weekly debates, we have a monthly debate where the 3 weeks leading up to the monthly debate, there's going to be 3 individual unique presenters. And out of those 3 topics that were presented, one of those 3 topics will be chosen as the debate topic. So that way, the weeks leading up to debate can prepare the members as a whole to be more well-versed in the knowledge and be more educated and informed so that they feel better prepared to perhaps volunteer themselves as a debater for the global debate, given the newly gained perspectives and insights that they've acquired. And the debate rules are flexible in that we have each team being given a total of 22.5 minutes. So we definitely don't want this debate to be something that's very long or complicated for our members, but to make sure that the 22.5 minutes are used effectively to use according to the 4 criterias: argument, counter arguments, rebuttals, and closing statements. And you can also see examples of our debates on our YouTube channel as well. But something that's sort of up for debate is whether to the extent our debate should, be emphasized over the discussions than the dialogues, which is much more of an importance to our organization. So the global debate, the format and the structure itself is still going to be flexible moving forwards. And if you guys have any questions or thoughts on ways to improve the structure, then I'll be more than happy to hear back on that. All right, so I'm gonna temporarily pause at this moment to ask you guys if you guys have any questions regarding any of the material that I just covered. Okay, so without further ado, actually, let's see, do I want to cover? Okay, so I'll go back to the list of topics a bit later because the list of topics is the most important slide in the presentation that I want to cover. So I'll cover it after I talk about the rewards and incentive system. So the rewards and incentive system was something that we had previously in our last quarter, but something that I decided to do was to redesign it in such a way that it's more memorable to our members to be a part of. So our honorary system assigns titles to each of our members in accordance to the amount of role and participation that they've had in our organization. So everybody here currently are travelers, but over time, as you acquire more and more Utopian points, your title will go up in accordance. So if you acquire 10 Utopian points, you get to be you get to earn the title of being a travel guide. If you acquire 20 Utopian points, you get to acquire the title of diplomat, followed by ambassador. And the Secretary of Utopia is our special honorary title, in that only one of our members, who is the highest scoring member in all of Utopia, gets to earn this title. So you may be thinking, what is the big deal with all of these titles, and what's the point of working hard and trying to participate as much as I can? It's because of the prizes that we have. So previously we had a lot of funding in terms of the amount of prizes that we can hand out to our members. So this quarter, because the certainty and the outcome of our fundings is not quite so certain, I've made adjustments for that, but still you're going to see that those who earn at least up to the diplomat title will get a $15 Amazon gift card, as well as a Diplomat of Utopia certificate, which in all terms and realities, it's not a major accomplishment, but still it feels good to have, to know that you have some form of recognition for your work here. But as you climb up the ranks and you reach the title of Secretary of Utopia, you get a $30 Amazon gift card, a custom Utopia sweater, as well as a certificate and a trophy. So striving for the title of Secretary of Utopia is something that everybody should definitely be working towards, and the compensations for that is met equivalently, okay? And this is how you earn points. So full attendance gives you 2 Utopian credits, and the game show that we have, that we hold at the beginning of each of our meetings will give you varying Utopian credits according to the placements that you've had. So first place will give you 4, second place will give you 2, third place will give you 1. And our weekly meeting presenters will get 4 Utopian credits. So that's definitely a good incentive for you to do the presentations not every single week, at least once every single month, to ensure that you get the 4 Utopian credits to put yourself in a good position for the Secretary of Utopia title. And for those who are participants in our monthly debate, The winners of the debates will get 8 Utopian credits, which is by far the biggest allocation of credits from all of our activities. But if you simply participate, but you didn't actually win the debates, you will still get 6 Utopian credits. So it's still worth it being part of our debates. Let's say the long run. So the long run is very similar to the mission slide that I presented earlier, in that what our goal here as utopians is to become the next generation of free and independent thinkers. And the importance of that is that partisanship, in my opinion, sort of limits the boundaries and the capabilities for what we are able to accomplish when it comes to policy solutions and being able to reach across the political aisle. I think in closing yourself off to other people and other ideas and other culture can be very dangerous, especially during these times where globalization has become one of the major phenomenon and the trends of the 21st century. So this is something that we are all going to work together in becoming the next generation for thinkers as well as doers. And let's see. So I think that pretty much covers most of the slides. So I want to go back to the example of a list of topics so that everyone gets a stronger grasp in terms of the kinds of topics that we cover here at Utopia. So previously, we only covered domestic issues in the United States, but something that I really wanted to leverage upon was our members' diverse cultural backgrounds. And so I think it's really great for us to be able to focus on major geographic regions such that we're able to get a more in-depth analysis and understanding of regions outside of the bubble that we all live in. So for regions like Africa, we can cover topics such as the interactions between the endowment of natural resources and weak states in Africa. Also talk about the US and China investment in Africa and how the two are sort of contrasting over the years to come when it comes to the amount of involvement that the United States had in foreign policies under the Trump administration. In Asia, obviously, one of the biggest changes that are currently happening right now is China's Belton Road Initiative and how that ties in with the geopolitical powers that are currently taking place in countries such as Pakistan, India, and China, for example. 2020 has also been a pretty significant year in that it was the year of social and pro-democracy movements, with the most notable one taking place in Hong Kong, but understanding democracy movements in Belarus, Kyrgyzstan, and Thailand will give us a better understanding of the causes as well as the impacts of these movements. Central America is not a region that I'm particularly well versed with, but there's very interesting sort of dynamics taking place where you're seeing democratically elected presidents sort of taking advantage of the lack of separation of powers in their government, sort of convert their governments back into authoritarian regimes. And you can see this happening in Nicaragua with the anti-Ortega protests that are currently happening, where President Ortega, who was a democratically elected president, converted his government back into an authoritarian regime. So that's something that we can understand together. In Europe, obviously the biggest one that's happening right now is the rise of the populist movement in countries such as France, Poland, Hungary, Czech Republic, and Italy. Brexit, although Brexit is a bit of an old news now relative to all of the events that are currently happening, it's still important to understand, I believe, the reasons why the United Kingdom decided to move forwards with leaving the European Union and what the implications of that will be when it comes to not just US ties with the European Union, but the EU as a whole when it comes to dealing with rising and emerging global powers. I think in the Middle East, the Israeli-Palestine conflict is one that's very well known, but not quite well understood as it should be. So I think covering topics about the conflicts that are happening in the Middle East, especially with the Cold War between Iran and Saudi Arabia, these are all topics that I believe will help us gain better understanding of the globalist, or not the globalist, a much more of a global perspective about the U.S. approach towards the Middle East. North America, obviously, as you guys already know, the capital riots that currently happen, along with the voter fraud allegations that are currently playing out right now in U.S. politics, it's very important for us to be able to cover topics in North America as well. And I think, Isha, did you raise your hand?
Yeah, I just had a question. So these are a great list of topics, but let's say someone wanted to lead a discussion for a week, right? Could
Right.
they go beyond these topics?
Right. So from the title, you can see that these are simply examples of a list of topics. So we're definitely not going to be narrowing ourselves to a list of topics here. These are just merely the topics that I'm comfortable with, or not comfortable with, but have somewhat of a broad understanding of. And so these are the topics that I could think of at the top of my head. But if you guys have other topics you guys want to discuss about, then we're more than happy to hear what those topics may be.
I have something to say as
Yeah,
well.
Anne, go ahead.
So for example, if we are on a topic of like, say, an Asian country for a month, right?
Right.
Is it? But then there's in this month there's a major world event happen in another part of the world, and somebody wanted to lead a discussions about it,
Right.
but they cannot really switch the topic. Then what would you do?
Right. I understand the limitations of just narrowing ourselves to a major geographic region. I think I experienced that limitation back when we only talked about United States policies. I think the reason why I have the structure as it is because of the monthly debate, and sort of the feedback and criticism that I got from last time was that there was sort of insufficient time for the members to have a more in-depth understanding leading up to the debate. So I think that's part of the reason why I have it structured in the way that we focus on a geographic region at a time. But when it comes to flexibility and talking about events happening outside the designated region, I think that's something that I probably need to think more about moving into the future, and sort of seeing how it plays out as the weeks progress. Did you wanted to add something else to that? Yeah.
I think actually, never mind. That's why we have the group, right? UWtopia group.
Yeah, that's why we have the Facebook group.
Yeah, so I think it's not gonna be a big problem.
Yeah.
So,
okay. Yeah. So I wanted to make sure that sort of because of the academic workload and the work extracurriculars that we have, I don't want us to sort of jump around from topic to topic, but rather being able to focus on one topic at a time so that we have a much more in-depth analysis of it. And sort of the problems that occur from that is that we can't talk about issues that do arise over the course of time, but sort of what we can do to compensate for that is the Facebook group that you just mentioned, and also trying to see if I can add more flexible elements to our structure to be able to better, allow for situations like that.
Oh yeah. So by the way, I need some time for the group advertisement too. So everyone here, if you haven't joined the UWtopia group, please join. I'm gonna send you the link in the chat box so that we can, whoever wants to have the honor of write the first post, please go ahead. That would be highly appreciated.
Actually, Anne, I was going to give you time at the end of the meeting to share your screen and have us run through the whole Facebook group process. But instead of typing it in the Zoom chat, can you go ahead and type it in the Slack chat so that all of our members can have permanent access to it?
Okay.
Yeah. And then I was going to cover South America and Oceania, but I think you guys get a gist of what this slide is about. So let's see with that. Let's see if I have any other slides that I want to cover. So no, that seems to be it. So that's it for the presentations in terms of the expectations and the activities that we're going to be doing for the weeks to come. If you guys have any general questions or partnership requests that you guys want to ask me, you can contact our official UW email at utopia@uw.edu, or for private inquiries directed at me, you can contact my email address at jkim59@uw.edu. All right, so that's all the administrative stuff. Now on to the fun part, which is going to be our game show, which we normally hold at the beginning of our meetings, but now it's going to be the time where we're going to do our game show instead of the presentations. So if you guys can all take out your phones or your computers and go over to pollf.com/JK807 to log into our game show right now. Let's see. And I myself will not be playing this game as I'm the one who created this game. So, let's see. Oh, and also, did anybody else have any broad general questions to ask about the presentation in general?
It was great.
Oh, thank you. Thank you, June. All right, I appreciate that. All right, so everyone just give me a quick thumbs up if you guys are ready to participate in the game show. Let's see. All right. I think mostly everyone's ready to play, so I'm gonna go ahead and start. So welcome everyone to the Can I Speak Your Language game show, where we're gonna be competing over a variety of questions in regards to different geographic and political issues. And for this very first meeting, because we did not have a presentation from last week, these are sort of the questions that I've compiled through my own research. And I will tell everyone that the level of difficulty will be pretty high. So you guys probably experienced my game shows previously, and there's a lot of questions where the answers are quite difficult to solve for, but this game show will top it off. So look forward to the kind of questions that you guys are going to be competing for. All right, so let's go ahead and start with the first question. The first question asks, which of the following is not a reason for Brexit? All right, so is it mass immigration? Is it the euro, which is the currency for the European Union? Is it the EU membership fees? Or is it sovereignty over British law? Which of the following is not a reason for Brexit? So this is testing your knowledge about your UK politics. So we're going to go ahead and see what the answer is. So the correct answer is the euro. So for the people who got this question incorrect, the easiest way you could have solved this question was to realize that the United Kingdom uses the pound instead of the euro as their currency. So that's the easiest way you guys could have, probably guessed what the correct answer was. All right. So currently, oh, did I miss the leaderboard? All right, currently on leaderboard, we have Bugard and Isha in second place. All right, so the next question asks, which EU nation had not experienced a surge in populist movement? So this is going to test your knowledge of staying up to date with relevant and current news. So the answer choices are the country Poland, France, Germany, or Ireland. Which of these four countries has not experienced a surge in populist movements? All right, and the time has run out, and the correct answer for this question is Ireland. So all of these other countries, whether it be in Poland and France or Germany, they have been the homes for many of the new rising nationalist populist movements that are happening in this country, especially in regards to the refugee crisis, where migrants coming from North Africa, as well as the Middle East, such as countries like Syria, for example, have been migrating into the European Union in masses. And in retaliation to those migration crisis, you're beginning to see a surge in populist movements. But for a country like Ireland, which is sort of remote and an island off of the west coast of Europe, you're beginning to see that they are not quite as experiencing this surge as some of the other European countries. All right, so Bugard retains his position in first place, followed by Isha and Kevin in third place. All right, the next question asks, which pair of nations are not currently in a border or territory dispute? So this can be a little bit of a tricky question, but the answer choices are the Republic of Ireland and the UK, Palestine and Israel, Armenia and Azerbaijan, or is it China and India? Which of the parent nations are not currently in a border territory dispute? And the correct answer is the Republic of Ireland and the UK. So it seems like everyone got this question correct, so probably no further explanations are needed for me, but the rest of the three answer choice pair of nations are currently in a border territory dispute. All right, so Isha overtook Bugard to retain first place. Bugard is going to be in second place now, followed by Kevin in third place. The next question asks, in 2020, many Asian nations underwent democracy movements. Which of the following hasn't? So this also tests your knowledge of current affairs. The answer choices are Taiwan, Belarus, Thailand, or Hong Kong? Which of the following Asian nations has not underwent democracy movements in 2020? All right, the time has run out, and the correct answer choice is Taiwan. So I did give a little bit of a hint in the presentation slides, but Thailand and Belarus have underwent democracy movements. And the important thing about this question is that it's 2020. So Taiwan has underwent democracy movements previously, but you're going to see that there was a democratically elected president. I forgot what her name was. I think Bugard probably knows what her name was better than I do, but she was recently elected as Taiwan's new president, and she's very, I think, very hardliner in the two states, let's say two states, two systems. I forgot quite exactly what the wording was, but Bugard probably understands the situation a bit better than I do. So
Yeah, I really,
Yeah.
I have no idea that Taiwan. Yeah, go ahead.
yeah, go
Yeah,
ahead, Bugard.
her name is Tsai Ing-wen, and she was re-elected last year. And her policy is for tend to focus on the independence of Taiwan instead
Right,
of
right.
yeah.
Yeah, so that's also something that I got from her presidential election, was sort of signifying that Taiwan is willing to pursue a much more of an independent path from the Democratic Republic of China. So that's that's the impression that I got from her election.
Actually, John, why you categorize Belarus as an like Asian country? It's supposed to be a
Oh,
European.
could you repeat that? And could you mute your mic, please, so I could hear Kevin's question?
Yeah, like I saw that Belarus is an like European country.
Belarus is a Central Asia country. So I believe Belarus is somewhere near, I think, Ukraine and Russia. So
Yeah, it's to the left of Russia.
yeah, it's still left of
So
Russia. So
I
I
mean
think,
that's pretty western.
right, it's pretty westwards, but it would be categorized as Central Asia from my research. So I was also very skeptical, like you at first too. It's like, is Belarus an Asian country? But they qualify under the Central Asia category, so that's why I listed it as one of the answer choices.
But
Okay.
what sort of issues in Belarus?
So Belarus right now, I think, let's see. So I think right now the current president is very pro Russia. So he's very close to President Vladimir Putin. And so some of the democracy movements that are happening currently right now is sort of to, let's see, it's been a while since I've last read about it, but I think it has to do with the fact that the current administration may have something have to do with the election that took place to maybe use military force to consolidate his power and undermine the democratic process for electing a new president, because he has been a president for quite a while now, and the people sort of want change, I believe. So that's sort of the reason why the democracy movement happened in Belarus. And again, I'm no expert in all of these countries and these topics, but this is the reason why we have Utopia in the first place, so that we can fill each other's gaps in the knowledge. Okay, it seems like the leaderboard has largely remained the same. I will move ahead with the next question. What was the cause of the 2019 Hong Kong protest? So was it censorship of speech? Was it election interference? Was it extradition? Or was it direct election of the chief executive, Carrie Lam? So which of these was the cause of the 2019 Hong Kong protest? All right, the time has run out, and the correct answer is the extradition. So the cause of the 2019 Hong Kong protest was because of the extradition bill, rather than it was anything about the election interference or the direct election, because the Hong Kong citizens cannot directly elect their chief executive. I believe a committee does that on their behalf. And so there wasn't any election interference to sort of begin with from the first place. And the extradition, where I believe it was a Hong Kong citizen who went to Taiwan with his girlfriend, I believe murdered his girlfriend in Taiwan, and they were trying to hold him in trial back in China. And so sort of what the Hong Kong people perceived that to be was sort of infringement, or the increase in the involvement of the Chinese government in Hong Kong affairs. So the extradition was the cause of the 2019 Hong Kong protest. All right. So leaderboard. So Anne gained a few more points with this question. Let's see. And Edward, it seems like Edward has joined us today. Edward, are you here with us currently? Let's see. Is Edward here? Okay.
Hey,
so
John, sorry I'm late.
Yeah, it's okay. We'll give you time to introduce yourselves after the game show. All right, so the next question is, what's the source of 2008 financial crisis? So for some of the people who are waiting for the American questions, here's finally one for you. So what's the source of the 2008 financial crisis in the United States? The stock market, the national debt, the trade war, or the housing market? So which one of these answer choices is the correct answer for the source of the 2008 financial crisis? All right, and the correct answer is the housing market. So the stock market, you can think of the stock market as perhaps the Great Depression, which is not the same as the Great Recession, which was what happened in 2008, the financial crisis. And this is something that I have a little bit more of an expertise on, but I don't want to elaborate too much in detail. But it was because subprime mortgages in the housing market that caused, I think, a lot of defaults to happen, and a lot of the companies that were holding these mortgages went bankrupt in result of that. So that was the source of the 2008 financial crisis. And did you want to say something?
Yes. I think I disagree with the way this question was phrased, because what caused 2008 financial crisis is more than one, factor. It's not only
sorry, what was
solely
the
housing.
source? Yeah, the source.
What's the source? Because I think that housing market is one of the factor that caused 2008 financial crisis. It's not the solely problem.
Right. So for a lot of economic and financial crisis, there's no way to sort of pinpoint a single cause. And I think that's what made it so difficult in determining whether or not the federal government or whether it was the private banking industry that was sort of at fault here for what happened in 2008. But sort of the way that you could have answered this question was to probably tell that it was the answer choices of trade war, national debt, and stock market wasn't the correct answer choice. So the housing market was the best choice here.
That's the most relevant choice. But the way this question was formed is rather vague to me, because I know that besides of the housing bubbles, it's more than a lot. The housing bubbles is not the only cause of the financial crisis. It's also
All right, so moving forwards, I'll make sure that the questions are as detailed as possible to avoid any confusions in the future.
Because it's a trick. Sometimes I feel like it's too tricky.
I'm not trying to trick you guys. Yeah, don't worry about that. These are all honest and trustworthy.
Yeah. I'm just teasing you.
Yeah. All right, so let's look at the leaderboard. So it looks like Kevin surpassed Isha to take the second place spot currently, with Isha in third place and Bugart remaining in the top spot in first place. So the next question is regards to the geographic region of Africa, which is what natural resource in many African states promised economic prosperity but failed to do so? And this is similar to Anne's point in the previous question, which is that the best answer choice out of the four answer choices is the correct answer. All right, so is it natural gas, diamonds, vibranium, or oil? So which of the following natural resources has promised economic prosperity to the continent of Africa, but has failed to do so? All right, so the correct answer is oil. So
what?
Yes, it's oil, because if you think about it in countries such as Ghana and Ethiopia and South Sudan, a lot of times the military conflicts that are arising are due to control over the oil reserves in the country. And for the many multinational oil corporations that are moving into Africa, a lot of times the oil profits aren't going back in the hands of regular, ordinary African people, but rather they stay in the hands of the African governments and the African politicians who are sort of expropriating the funds for their own personal use, rather than reinvesting that money back into their infrastructure. So you can see why oil is one of the most contentious natural resource in many African states. But I can see why people might have answered vibranium and diamonds, because they are natural resources that play sort of a similar role to oil in these states.
Yeah, I think oil is also what happened in Venezuela. Like
Venezuela,
it's like Middle East is causing all of the problems with these countries who relies on oil in their
Right.
economy.
Exactly. So
Yeah.
the question is, does the United States like democracy more or do they like oil more? So that's a question we can further explore if we choose the Middle East as one of our topics. All right. So Kevin finally took first place for the first time, with Bugard being in second place, and Edward, although being a latecomer, is now in third place. So the competition looks pretty fierce as of right now. The next question, and these are 15 questions, so I promise this isn't going to go on forever. As of March 2020, how many countries have joined the Belton Road Initiative? And actually, it's okay if you get this question wrong because I'm not 100% sure of the answer myself, but this is in accordance to the number of countries that have signed the Belton Road Initiative, not actually have initiated projects on their grounds just yet. So if you get this question right, it's perfectly fine, but if you guys have a sort of like a general understanding of how many countries, the answer choices are 6, 38, 72, or 138. So how many countries have joined the Belton Road Initiative? All right, so everyone has submitted the answers, and the correct answer choice is 138. I know it sounds a lot, it's basically more than half the countries in the entire globe, but in terms of the countries that have actually signed on to the Belton Road Initiative, you're going to see that close to around 138 countries have signed the initiative. And most of these countries are regions in Asia, in Europe, in Africa, and also in the Middle East. So that's a very large, sizable part of the globe that have agreed to sort of permit Chinese investments into their country to sort of build up their infrastructure. So that's sort of the grasp of how many countries have joined it. All right, so Isha has surpassed everyone's score to take the third place spot, with the rest of the spots mostly remaining stagnant. All right, so the next question asks, which of the following is not an existing regional organization? So hopefully this is a little bit of an easier question, or it may not be, but the answer choices you have is ASEAN, Arab League, League of Nations, or African Union. This is really testing your knowledge of history, because the question asks which of the following is not an existing regional organization. So we're not talking about ones that existed in the past, but ones that exist currently. And the correct answer is Liga. I'm actually curious, who wrote ASEAN as not an existing regional organization, if you're not afraid to speak up about it? All right, it's okay if you don't, but basically, sort of what one of the major trends that are happening right now in sort of the South Asia, Southeast Asia communities is sort of the coalition of these nations working together to sort of create a similar counterpart to the European Union, in that they're trying to secure themselves as a sort of an economic powerhouse in their own regions and to promote trade across their borders. Right? And if this is a topic that you guys want to explore further in the details, ASEAN can also be one of our topics as well. All right, so Isha is now in first place, followed by Kevin in second place, and Bugart in third place. Okay, so, and I think we're nearing the end, so don't worry, everyone. Which of the following nations did the United States overthrow government? So this is a bit of a dark question, but this is for people who have a much more deeper understanding of US history. So the following nations include Syria, Saudi Arabia, Iran, and Israel. Which of the following nations did the United States overthrow its government? So not counting the ones that have invaded, but actually successfully overthrow. And the correct answer is Iran. So the United States was heavily involved in countries such as Libya and Syria, but right now the current leader of Syria, Assad, is still in power. But for Iran, the United States have previously sort of overthrown and toppled the existing government in order to set up a more secular government, which eventually failed because that leader failed to garner popular support from their people. And so Iran is the correct answer choice here. All right. Let's see. All right, now it seems like Bugart's in first place, Isha in second, and June for the first time has reached top 3 position in third place. So the competition is still no shade, no shade. The competition is still pretty neck to neck right now. All right. So the next question asks, which of the following is the primary reason for a U.S. invasion of Afghanistan? And this is surprisingly a much more easier question than you think. So don't overthink this one when it comes to answering the question. So it said protecting democracy against a military coup. It said capturing the leader of Al Qaeda. Was it support resistance against Russian forces, or is it fighting against the Taliban, an Islamic fundamentalist group? And the correct answer is capture the leader of Al Qaeda. So the thing is that the leader of Al Qaeda at this time was Osama bin Laden. And I knew that the moment I wrote his name as one of the answer choice, that would have been the most easiest answer. So that's why I sort of obscured it a little bit by writing the leader of Al Qaeda, which was before he was assassinated. But the correct answer was capture the leader of Al Qaeda. Invasion of Afghanistan.
Okay, I could be wrong, but wasn't it because Afghanistan was developing chemical weapons and the US using that reason to like sending troops to Afghanistan?
Right, so nuclear weapons, chemical weapons, that's going to be a continued reoccurring phenomenon you're going to see and sort of being one of the moral reasons why US would invade some of these countries. But the thing was that the Taliban group in Afghanistan. So answer choice D could have been a very reasonable answer, but the best answer choice was B because the Taliban at that time was sheltering Osama bin Laden in Afghanistan. And the reason why the US decided to invade Afghanistan was that the Afghanistan government, as well as Taliban, was not willing to release Osama bin Laden to the US custody. And so that's sort of the prime reason for why US invaded Afghanistan. All right, so Isha is now in first place, followed by Bugar in second, and Shun retains her spot in third place. Okay, so I think there's like one or two more questions left. So during the Cold War, which country did the US fail to win militarily? And this is a little hint towards you, but was it Vietnam, Iraq, Iran, or Libya? Which of the following countries did the US fail to win militarily? So three of these countries, the US did manage to win militarily, but one of these did not. The correct answer choice here is Vietnam. And for people who probably understand the Vietnam War, you can tell that it was very long and bloody conflict between North and South Vietnam. But ultimately, the US failed to sort of, I guess you can say, push back communism. But the more important thing was that for the Vietnamese people during that time, having established their sense of independence and autonomy as a nation was by far one of the biggest reasons why they were able to win against a superpower like the United States during the Vietnam War.
Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. Just a little quick shout out. Yeah. All right.
Like a lot of people don't believe that US actually failed. Like they just say, US win the war. They will say US could win the war, but they choose not to. But I see it is a failure in like politicians' way. Like in the battlefield, the US has more technical, like so much more advantage over Vietnam. But to the media, like how the image of the US is really, really damaged by entering Vietnam War. So that is a really big failure.
And also, and if we do happen to choose Asia as our region, you can talk more about Vietnam. Yeah, if that's something that you want to do during our meetings. All right, so actually, because it seems like the meeting time is running a bit long now, I'm gonna go ahead and skip to the very last question. So I apologize if you were looking for a bit of a comeback, but let's see. So not this question. All right, so this is the last question, by far, in my personal opinion, the most interesting question, which is, can you guess the correct sequence of North Korean leaders? So is it Kim Jong-il, Kim Il-sung, or Kim Jong-un? Is it Kim Jong-un, Kim Il-sung, Kim Jong-il? Is it Kim Il-sung, Kim Jong-un, Kim Jong-il? Or is it Kim Il-sung, Kim Jong-il, Kim Jong-un? All right, so this is sort of the fun question for our game show today. So the correct answer choice here is Kim Il-sung, Kim Jong-un, Kim Il-sung, Kim Jong-il, and Kim Jong-un. So people who did answer this question that get this question correct. So congratulations. All right, so it seems like Isha takes home the first place for our very first game show, followed by Bugard, and somehow June managed to climb her way into third place. So congratulations to everyone who managed to place in the top 3 spots. And if you can go ahead and record the names of the individuals who received the top spots in our leaderboard, so we can reward them points.
So it would be 4, 3, 2, right? The way the points.
4, I think it was 4, 2, 1.
No, 4, 3, 2.
4, 3, 2. Okay. Yeah.
If
4,
I
3, 2.
remember correctly.
Yeah. All right. Give Bugard and Shuna the 3 and the 2 points respectively. All right.
Okay.
All right. So thank you everyone for participating in the game show. I actually want to finish the meeting at 6 p.m. So our meetings typically run for around an hour to an hour and 15 minutes. But sort of what I wanted to do at this time was to choose our first major geographic region, which is sort of going to determine the weeks to come for the format of our presentation. So before we actually choose our geographic regions, what I want to do is to give everyone time to brainstorm sort of current issues or current events or even historical ones as well that they personally want to see being discussed about. So I'm gonna go ahead and activate. I think the code should still be the same with it being polef.com/JK807. All right, I'm going to open it until 5:57. So you have 3 minutes to put in your responses. Let's see. And also let me know if you guys are unable to see this on your ends.
We're putting down topics, right?
Yeah, topics. It can be just words or full sentences, but what this is for is to help to give us a better understanding of not just the topics that we personally want to talk about, but also the topics that other people want to see being talked about as well. So that's sort of the purpose for the utopian brainstorming time. Let's see, I'm questioning as to whether or not I should respond as well, because I sort of wanted to open it up to you guys to be able to choose the topics.
Oh yes, of course. You should join.
Yeah, okay, I'll submit one. But you guys can submit as many as you guys want. Say JK807. See. Okay. All right, 1 more minute left. So finalize any of your last remaining thoughts and submit your responses. And also make sure that these topics are, of course, under, appropriate limitations. So don't get all wild or crazy about, topics that you guys want to be seeing being explored. Keep it under a reasonable limit. Let's see. All right, so it's now 5:57 on my end. So I'm gonna go ahead and deactivate lock in responses and show the responses. Wow. Okay, so it looks like China is very one of the largest words in front of my screen right now. But it seems like censorship, China. Let's see, COVID, Pakistan. I think Saudi Arabia. Let's see, Korea, women. Okay, so I think I'm starting to get a general understanding for where most of these topics probably reside in. I think for the most part, it seems like Asia seems to be the one. Also Africa and India, Europe as well. So from these topics, if you guys can go ahead and sort of talk about perhaps your own reasons or motivations for why you might want to talk about one of the keywords that you see here in the screen in front of you. So if you guys want to go ahead and take this time to sort of explain your positions, please feel free to go ahead. Or if you're shy, all right, Isha, it seems like you raised your hand. Go ahead, please.
Yeah, sure. I think that a lot of these are leaning towards Asia. For mine, what I wrote was that maybe a discussion on the secularization theory in either China or Europe, I think something cool would also be talking, or something interesting would also be talking about the treatment of Uyghurs in China.
Mm. And I think we have here, we have both Taiwanese and also Chinese members here currently with us. So what we can try to do is sort of incorporate some of the more on-ground experiences and understandings that these individuals might have to contribute to these topics. So I think that's a pretty great suggestion. All right, so then without further ado, I'm going to go ahead to the last activity for the day, which is going to be choose your next adventure. So thinking back to the topics that you guys just saw, choose, I believe, I'm not sure if I limited to the number of responses to be unlimited or just one, but try to choose 1 to 2 regions where you guys want to see your next adventure taking place. So is it Africa, Asia, Central America, Europe, the Middle East, North America, South America, or Oceania?
We can only select one.
Only one? Okay. So I think moving forward, I'll try to open up the responses to at least 2 to 3 so that we get much more of a diversified response. But for now, we'll just keep it at 1. Let's see. So this one, I'm going to give you guys a little less time to respond. And again, if you guys have any questions that you guys want to ask me, please feel free to go ahead and just ask right away so I can respond promptly. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and deactivate and show the responses. So it seems like 50% of you guys have chose Asia as your next adventure, followed by Europe, North America, and South America. So Utopia is now going to embark on its first ever voyage to Asia, where we're going to start talking about different events that are happening within the Asia geographic regions. And something that I want to do in preparation for the next meeting is to have our first presenter. So does anybody here want to volunteer themselves to be the presenter for next week? And this is in regards to events that are happening in Asia. So if this is something that you guys feel particularly passionate about, you guys can hand. Yeah, Isha, go ahead.
I could do it if he else wants to.
All right, and do you have any specific topics in mind that you want to see?
Oh
Yeah,
yeah, sure. Well, I think I could go by what I was saying with my earlier idea about either the treatment of Uyghurs in China. I saw a lot of people talking about censorship in China, so maybe that could be another thing I could talk about. And maybe, well, I think that also there was India up there and conflicts, so maybe the conflict between China and India. I have so many ideas, like I could be fine with anything.
Yeah, so feel free to finalize the topic that you want to discuss about. It doesn't have to be today, but as long as you sort of get like a presentation up and running and you can see sort of examples where I have presented in the past from our YouTube channel as well. So you can sort of use that as an example for creating your own presentations. So
sure.
Isha, do you need a partner?
If you'd like to, let's do it.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah,
right, and I think the great thing about these presentations, contrary from last quarter, is that more than one presenters can present. So if you guys want to partner up with anybody else that you guys have in mind, you guys can go ahead and do that.
Yeah, I mean, I like to just doing the research and everything. If we can finalize a topic and I can just do a research and participate in discussions. Yeah, not a fan of presenting.
John, I was wondering also, can the presentation be more discussion centered? Because I think that we get a lot of good collaboration, like maybe a short introduction and then a discussion.
Absolutely, right. And because we are sort of flexible in terms of, how our meeting format's going to be run down, you can make it more discussion oriented or more presentation oriented, however the way you wish or feel best to convey your information. And I think something that I wanted to talk about was Isha mentioned that one of the topics that she was interested in was the Uyghur population in China. And I know that we have members here who are from China. And I think sort of what I wanted to remind everybody in Utopia is that we're not here to sort of have an affirmative stance on a particular issue, but what we want here, so why we are here is because we want to be able to sort of get a perspective from both sides of the issue and being able to sort of make our own independent judgments and decisions from that. So this is in no ways trying to persuade anybody or try to convert anybody to a particular side. But what we can do is if somebody has, perhaps an insight from a different point of view from the presenter, then they can have the freedom to be able to say it and have that be as part of a constructive dialogue taking place. And I think I'm probably mentioning Kevin right now because Kevin is my good friend from China. And so Kevin, if you feel like this might be going towards a path where you might not feel as comfortable about, I just wanted to let you know that we are an organization where we hear both sides of the issue, not just one side. So I just wanted to let you know about that.
Yeah, definitely. And I think that everyone here just wants to broaden their viewpoints and be educated on things. So, I mean, I think that presenting this in a nonpartisan or opinionated way might be best.
And then the meeting for today is actually going to end here with Isha and Anne going to be our first presenters for next week. But what I wanted to do really quickly was also introduce my good friend Edward, as well as my other co-founder for Utopia, because I think it's appropriate that Edward be able to introduce himself to the rest of the organization as well. So Edward, can you go ahead and quickly give yourself an introduction?
Thanks for the setup, John. I really enjoyed the meeting today. John and I are two of the original founders of Utopia, along with Bugart. Basically, I saw a lot of political division at the University of Washington. I thought it would be a good idea to start a place where people are open to different perspectives. Because if you look at the people that are politically active at UW, they're all very ideologically aligned, and if you're different, it's pretty hard to get what you needs to be done. If you create a space for people with multiple viewpoints to learn from each other, I think we can get closer at being a united school. So that was the inspiration behind Utopia.
All right, thank you for your words, Edward. And with that, this is actually going to signal the end for today's meeting. So if you guys don't have anything else to further add, I will be seeing you guys next week in our next journal meeting, where we're going to be seeing our first presentation. And I think if you've already shared the Facebook group link on our Slack page, if you guys can go ahead and make sure to sign up for that as well, so that so that our communications can be continued even outside of our meetings. That would also be great as well. All right.